Welcome back, fight fans. UFC 317 is this weekend, and this is a huge card because we finally get to see Topuria return to the octagon at lightweight going against Charles Dubronx. In this video, we'll only cover the main and co-main events, but remember to check my other video out on the rest of the main card fights. Now let's get into it. Our main event this week is a lightweight title fight as Islam Makhachev has vacated the belt and decided to move up to welterweight and challenge Jack Della for that belt. And so we have Ilia Topuria in his first lightweight fight challenging UFC 15-year veteran Charles Oliveira. Let's look at the stats. Ilia isn't even pushing 30 yet, while Oliveira is nearing 36. Definitely past his physical prime, I would say. Now take a look at that weight. Like I said, this is Ilia's first fight at lightweight, so we don't really know how his size compares to others at this weight class. His height and reach are shorter than Charles, but to be fair to Topuria, he's been the smaller fighter by these metrics for almost all of his fights, even at the lower weight class. And with that smaller size, he's had no problem competing at the highest level against some of our favorite fighters. The guy is 8-0 in the UFC, but let's look at his last couple fights coming into this. On his way to the featherweight belt, we watched him outclass a lot of people on the way up. Starting in 2022, he fought a taller, lankier, and dominant striker, Jai Herbert. Ilia's hype train was almost derailed in this fight as he took a head kick from God and somehow kept his consciousness, kept his composure, and made an insane comeback to completely flatline Herbert. It was impressive seeing him take that damage from such a tall opponent, still have the IQ to know that he had to pressure him and go forward even though he got caught, and see him get the finish. Next, he took on country boy Bryce Mitchell. Bryce was actually able to secure a takedown in the first round and looked very effective in keeping Topuria down. Then starting in round 2, where Topuria just put the pedal to the metal and beat the shit out of Bryce Mitchell. Put him in a compromising position by just out-muscling him and showed mercy on him by just taking the choke and getting a submission win. Then we saw Topuria versus Josh Emmett, another heavy striker who's been trending up in the division. Topuria outclassed him for 5 rounds. He doubled him on the significant strikes and was just boxing his head off from start to end and really dominating the whole fight. And that's why we saw some insane scorecards, one of them even being 50-42. And then we saw Topuria enter his featherweight title era. He got the title shot against featherweight GOAT Alexander Volkanovski. Volk gave Ilia some trouble that fight, actually landing more of significant strikes through the fight. But you don't need significant strikes when you fight Topuria because he will come for your head, and that's exactly how he wins here. And in his first title defense is against UFC legend Max Holloway. Once again, the significant strikes were close that fight. On paper, Holloway was competing, but what did I tell you? This man comes for the head and has no mercy. And now his opponent, Charles Dubronx Oliveira. Since 2022, he has felt the highs and lows of the fight game. He had his first title defense against Justin Gaethje.
Gentlemen, this is
Gaethje wasn't ready for the BJJ that Dubronx was bringing and gets a sick submission sequence to win the fight. And then it was time for the Dagestan takeover again. Islam Makhachev comes into the scene, rocks Charles, and then gets the easiest arm triangle of his life to take the belt. And then Oliveira had his comeback fight against Beneil Dariush. He ended Dariush's title aspirations with some of the slightest striking I've seen in a top 5 contender fight. The level of competition keeps rising for Oliveira. Here he takes on Arman Tsarukyan. Looking at the stats, it looks undeniable that he lost this fight. Over double the significant strikes for Tsarukyan and over 8.5 minutes of control time as well. But it wasn't an easy fight for Tsarukyan. In fact, Charles almost got him out of there early in the fight. Yet the fight doesn't go his way and he ends up losing by a split decision. And in his most recent fight, he welcomed Michael Chandler back to the UFC after his few years chasing McGregor. A rematch fight as they had fought each other back in 2021 for a vacant belt where Charles got the second round KO. However, this fight went the full distance, but both fighters gave us exactly what we wanted, an exciting 5-round banger. Charles dominated with almost 15 minutes of control time and undeniably won the fight 49-46 on all scorecards. Gonna be a banger for this lightweight title fight. The odds heavily favor Ilia Topuria, but how do you guys see this fight playing out? Let me know in the comments below. And in our co-main event, we have the flyweight title fight as Kai Kara-France finally gets back to the top and has his second title shot ever against Alexandre Pantoja. The flyweight champ Alexandre Pantoja is coming in as the -270 favorite. He's now 35 years old, which is pushing the end range of his physical prime, and Kai Kara-France is just a few years younger at 32 years old. Both fighters are similar in height and reach. It's almost negligible. This fight is going to come down to who has the better skill and game plan. Let's look at the champion, Alexandre Pantoja. In 2023, he took the belt from Brandon Moreno in a vigorous 5-round split decision victory. Crazy fast-paced fight where Moreno had the edge on the significant strikes, but Pantoja had the advantage on the takedowns and control time. It had to have been a close fight, but since it went to a split decision, the fans analyzed it, and it seems that the right fighter won. His first title defense is against Brandon Royval, where Pantoja gets another decision win. More dominant this time, getting himself almost 16 minutes of control time and winning on 2 scorecards, 50-45. The flyweight division must have been running out of contenders because his next title defense was against Steve Erskine Erceg. Though Erceg gave him trouble on the feet, Pantoja still outstruck him and landed over 8 minutes of control time yet again. He edged out a decision victory, winning at least 3 rounds from each judge. And in his most recent fight, he welcomed Kai Asakura to the UFC. Pantoja was in his best form in this fight. He outstruck Asakura and had the advantage on the takedowns and control time as well, until he was able to get enough pressure on him in the second round, secure the takedown and take the back, leading to a rear naked choke and a submission win. And his next challenge this weekend is Kai Kara-France, and his resume isn't all too impressive if we're being honest. In 2022, he fought Brandon Moreno in his first title bout, challenging for the belt. His striking was good, matching Moreno in the stats, and even had him cut bad under the eye. But Moreno's relentlessness was too much. He kept coming and lands a nasty liver kick, which drops Kai Kara to the point where he could not continue. Then he fights Amir Albazi in a 5-round snooze fest. Kai Kara-France landed over double the significant strikes as Albazi, but gave up over 6 minutes of control time. It went to a decision, and 2 of the 3 judges gave it to Albazi for a split decision loss to Kai Kara-France. Though it was highly disputed online, as many people thought that Kai Kara had done enough to win that fight. And his most recent fight was just last summer, where he took on Steve Erceg right after Erceg had fought for the belt. Pantoja took Erceg to a close decision, but Kai Kara-France made it look easy. It was a striking battle from front to end, and striking from Erceg that gave Pantoja problems was nothing for Kai Kara-France. He pressures him and lands a left hook that shuts the lights off and earns him a TKO victory. And with that momentum behind him, the confidence of TKOing an opponent who went to a close decision with the current champ, Kai Kara-France is coming in this week hot and probably looking to put his striking on full display. Will he be able to get the best of Pantoja, or will Pantoja be able to use his slick BJJ yet again and score 8+ minutes of control time and win the fight? That's all we have. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to Fight Weekly for your weekly UFC fight updates. Be on the lookout for another video this week with the rest of the main card bouts. Thank you for watching, and as always, let's enjoy the fights.